Hello, Ahmed Kayode Alabi. Thank you so much for coming on my program today, the Scholarship Info. We are so humbled to have you on here. Um, Before we jump into the main conversation, which is to focus on the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship at the University of Edinburgh, for which you were a recipient of that very prestigious scholarship, I would like you to first and foremost introduce yourself to our audience or our viewers on here on Zoom, and also those that have that opportunity to follow or watch this same video on YouTube. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for bringing me on the show. I think when people ask me to introduce myself, I like to say I'm a product of grace and circumstance. And the reason why I say that is that I think grace brought me to this point and circumstance led me to the work that I currently do. I was born and raised in one of the largest floating slum, Makoko, Nigeria, and lost my mom when I was 7, and my dad became unemployed at the same time. And growing up, I saw children who share similar circumstances as mine. I was even out of school myself, and my brother was also out of school for like a whole academic year. So those experiences actually shape the work that I do to ensure children like me who don't have access to economic mobility have access to those economic mobility through access to like 21st century skills or life skills development. So how can such young people, how can they survive in this complex, difficult 21st century world that we live in? So that's why I do what I do. So I like to introduce myself as such a person. And yeah, I founded a social enterprise, Kayode Alabi and Career Initiative, that helps these young people to develop life and 21st century skills. And I'm currently scaling one of my social innovation, Skitura Bootcamp, into the UK, leveraging EdTech to help these young people develop these employability skills needed for the workforce and the future of work. I work with Refugee Education UK as a senior educational mentoring coordinator, where I connect young refugees and asylum seekers in West London to mentors for educational support. So I will just keep it as short, as simple as that, because I think I'm a pocket of many things. So I would stop here.
Nice. Well done. It seems you are doing so much and so well for yourself, and we are also proud of you, and we are rooting for you. And we know you are going to be successful in all these endeavors that you are engaged in. So we have one of our signature questions that we put across to every discussant on this very channel, which is, what is what is this one profound or significant discovery about yourself between when you started pursuing scholarships until when you backed the prestigious Mastercard Foundation Scholarship at the University of Edinburgh?
I think I'm a very resilient person. I think if there is something that I learned from that journey, that I'm a very, very resilient person. And I think whenever I fail, I create. So I remembered like I applied for 10 scholarship before I got one. And every of those 10 scholarship came up with a rejection. But for every rejection that I get, and for every day that I sit down and I'm brooding on those rejections, I wake up the next day being a better person. Because for me, I've been auditioned already. It's like, you apply for things, you're writing your vision, and then you're getting somebody to accept if your vision, to accept your vision. So for me, it was an opportunity to continue to build what I'm already building. It was an opportunity to continue to improve on the reach. So, for example, like if I've reached maybe 2,000 when I was applying to a scholarship, at the end of the day, I've probably done 3,500 or 5,000 already. So by the time I'm coming back, I've improved already. And I've gotten like a new roles, I've gotten like into new opportunities to continue to develop. So for me, I don't write the same response in the same application because it has improved over time. and I've also learned to tell my story better. It means that I've also had 10 drafts that did not work, but I can always improve on. So for me, it's like it was an opportunity to create, and it was an opportunity to be, it was an opportunity to continue to become. So I think, me getting all of those rejections were actually building my muscle for personal development and professional growth, that to the extent when then the opportunity comes in, because all I needed was an interview to talk about myself and my work. So when the interview then came in, I was as if I was a hungry lion who was ready to devour, because I already had all of these experiences, and it was just for me to like, communicate and talk about them. So I think, yeah, for me, it's that resilience and also the ability to continue to evolve, learn, and continue to tell my stories in a better way.
Amazing. Good to hear all this. And one of the key things that I've taken out of all that you have said so far is the fact that whenever you fail, you create. Wow. And the fact that um and to you to create, you believe it is the process that helps you to learn and improve over the time, which also helps to build build yourself personally, and then even grow to make you much more position you much more better for the opportunities ahead. That is fantastic. Thank you so much for that. So because we are going to focus our conversation on the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship at the University of Edinburgh, I would like you to tell us tell us what you know about this very scholarship. What is it about? What does it cover? What are the eligibility requirements? What is it about it? What is even the package, right? What makes it prestigious? What makes it a scholarship that people should yearn for?
Again, I think first and foremost, I think the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship is one of the scholarships out there that is extremely prestigious. And I am saying this from the point of like, because when you look at the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship in itself, the way you're being treated right from the beginning, the moment you're a scholar, like the moment you've been selected, you're being catered for, you're being looked after. It's the pastoral care is non-existent in many other scholarship. And I think for me, me getting the scholarship, for example, like, them being able to even renew my passport fees, then sending me my tuberculosis testimony, and, knowing that I already have an accommodation before I travel, and getting into the airport, and, somebody's already waiting for me at the airport to pick me up and take me to my accommodation, and my laptop was ready right from like the entrance of my door, and I had my laptop, and I had somebody giving me a SIM card, recharge the SIM card and say, call your family back home. And I think it's a very, very well-intentional scholarship, because I think many people who get scholarship don't talk about transition. And I think the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship is one of those scholarships that helps people to really, really transition into, the academic system, into the school system. Again, there are like specific courses that are being advertised, especially for the one in Edinburgh. So you have to like look through the courses to see if, it aligns with your personal and professional experiences, or it aligns with your vision or what you want to do. And I also think that in the past, they weren't focusing on sustainability, because in the last 6 to 7 years, the focus has been on specific courses and general. But now the focus is now more on sustainability, and there's still this, more people are being given, like, so if you're a refugee, for example, if you're a female, for example, if you've also gotten disability, you have like a huge potential to get the scholarship as well. But then your professional and personal experience needs to be still considered. But now the focus more is on climate sustainability or sustainability as well. So if you're applying, you need to probably think of like, how does my work connect to sustainability, or what is the sustainability aspect of my work? So you need to think about, the intersection. So when people ask me like, oh, Hamid, but my work is not on sustainability. So I'm like, does your work actually center on the intersection of climate and your work, or sustainability and your work? So for example, if you're working in education and you're painting the classroom, for example, like, that's actually sustainability, because what you're doing is that you're using adaptive reuse model, basically to like, oh, there's, how do you reduce waste by painting a place? How do you reduce greenhouse emission by painting a place, for example? So that's an intersectional work. But then that depends on how you want to communicate it, and it depends on what you want in the future. If that's not what you want, obviously don't go for it. But if it's really what you want and it's the scholarship that you want, that you really want, I think people should read the eligibility criteria to see what the scholarship actually offers, what it gives, and apply. So apart from like paying for your school fees, and there are like just so many, they also have like enterprise competition, you get an enterprise grant. They've also gotten, they are just like, it's numerous, like an internship opportunity, an opportunity to continue to like learn and develop through the Mastercard Foundation. I think there's just so much that you can get from the program. So for me, I feel like it's still one of the most generous scholarship that I've ever seen. I know there are many other ones, but in terms of pastoral care, the Mastercard Foundation is number one. They truly care about the scholars, and you get almost all the support you need. Even if you like need glasses during your program, they will get you the glasses and pay for it. So yeah.
That's so true, because I mean, I was also a Mastercard Foundation Scholar there, at Sciences Po in France. So yeah, I can attest to all that he's saying, even including helping you to transition from university into the world of work. And Mastercard is actually there to right there to help. They were so concerned, sending us opportunities, connecting us to industry giants, and then even helping us even with interviews and all that. So they do a lot. So it's actually one of the major scholarships you can find out there that really cares about you, makes your interest one of theirs. So it's actually very, very good. I understand that the eligibility requirement and all that can be found on their website, but can you walk us through the minimum eligibility requirements, the minimum?
Okay, cool.
So that we can actually demystify some of the misconceptions, right?
I think the first thing is that you have to have a first class or a second class upper degree. I think that's very important. I mean, once you go through the application, you'll be screened out. Like you have to complete some certain things. And if you don't meet the eligibility, you're automatically screened out. You have to live in sub-Saharan Africa, or probably you were living in sub-Saharan Africa and you went for further studies abroad, but you've not started living in that place or in that location, right? So you have to be a resident of sub-Saharan Africa. And I think you obviously have a previous like connection and professional experience related to like, the course that you want to choose, but that's personal to you, you decide. But those two things are very, very key. And also you need that financial support. So it's not that you're extremely, extremely rich and you can afford the school. So you clearly show that you you need that financial support to be able to study, in the UK. So again, those are the, I think, minimum criteria, basically.
Yeah, you highlighted should have some professional skills, and I would like you to clarify, because yeah, how about me, who has just completed uni? Because someone may be asking, I just completed uni, and I think I fall within the remit or the ask of the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at the University of Edinburgh. However, I have not taken up or taken on any job. Do I still qualify? Maybe I was my class rep, maybe I've joined some community action, cleaning gutters here and there, some very menial stuff. How can I articulate all these elements to be a good candidate for this very scholarship?
Again, I think what I meant about, professional is also like all of those small buckets of volunteering that people have done. So if you're a graduate, like if you're a student, a recent graduate, it doesn't mean that you can apply. In fact, I think the Mastercard scholarship actually pick candidates who are like mix of, you have a mixed bag of people who are very, very they've done so well in their profession, or probably they are the what would they call it? They are far end, or they are the far end of their professional journey. and there are some that are just starting, or there are some that have not even started at all. But they kind of like show promising, that they can, get something done, or they can cope in a master's degree. Because another thing is the ability to cope in a master's program, the rigor of a master's program. So I think it's not by actually like I have so many years of experience. It's also by, what you hope to do, what you hope to study. And I also think that it's also how you're able to communicate what you've done. So for example, if you're a recent graduate, what's your master's dissertation? What's your bachelor's degree dissertation that you worked on? Like that's an impact, right? But you might think it's not an impact. Like you spend nights and days actually writing that dissertation. You spent actually moments going into communities, right, to collect data. You were building relationship when you were collecting those data. You were like, if you truly do the research yourself, though, because people don't actually do research for themselves. So if you truly do the research, those things are actually leadership. But how do you actually communicate the time you spend, going to conduct those research, what you learn from that journey, what you learn from that experience? So when people say that I don't have a story, I said you have a story, just that you don't know how to tell it. Because I tell people that we live stories every single day. We live stories every single minute. We live stories every single second, and we live stories every single year. The reason why people say that they don't have stories is because they don't reflect enough to think about what they've done and be able to articulate those stories. So everybody has a story. We are an embodiment of story. We are stories across time. Like what we are doing now already is a story already. And I think, for me, it's the ability to be able to articulate that story, even if you're a recent graduate. Like if you're a class rep, how do you actually articulate that story? If you're able to, volunteer during your school, how do you articulate that story? If you're able to like conducting the research is a lot of work. What's also the impact of your research as well or the potential impact of your research, for example? You should be able to run a study that, this research actually has a potential of, what is the demography of your community? What's the demography of your state, if it's a state research? And you can use that to communicate potential impact and communicate them in numbers. So again, it's the ability to tell your story, right? But again, it's because people don't pay attention, right? And think that they actually have done something, except if they don't do it themselves. I think that's where I have the problem.
Fabulous. So we are indeed an embodiment of story. That's profound. Thank you. So please, no professional experience or skill is small, right? It depends on how you articulate it, how you tell your story, because you are indeed an embodiment of story, says Ahmed Kayode Alabi. Thank you so much. Now, let us now jump into the essay of the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship at the University of Edinburgh. What makes a winning scholarship application essay?
I think it's an application that is well intentionally written. I think it's an application that answers the question first, because what many people do is that you're being asked the question and you don't answer them, or you answered one part, you do not answer the other part. They are, so the first thing is that, have you actually looked at the question? Do they have elements? What are the elements? What are the prompts? And have I actually really, really answered this question, right? Because even part of a master's program is the ability to actually answer questions. And if you don't answer a question, there are some certain marks that you would not get. So it's very important that when people are writing the essays, or when people are thinking about the questions, they have to think about like, have I actually really, really answered the question? It's also developing a story as well. What narrative do you want to tell in a particular essay? Or where do you want to pick your stories from? Where do you want to pick your experiences from? And how do you ensure that those experiences actually connect to the questions that you're asking? And thinking of like, what numbers, how can I actually qualify my essays? How can I qualify, my stories? For example, if I have numbers, what are the stories to back up the numbers, right? And being able to blend all of those things into your essays because you also don't want to write like a ChatGPT. Most people, you read essays and you're thinking that this is actually a ChatGPT essay, right? So people need to like, now that we can't differentiate ChatGPT from real essays, it's very difficult to even know what is real or not. So it's very important for people to bring their own personal experiences and uniqueness into their essay, but not allowing your personal uniqueness and stories to dominate your essay that you forget to answer the question. I think it's a blend of those things. And I also think it's an essay that is also constantly you've read it and you ensure that you're actually communicating and there are limited errors in them as well. And I also think it's also like an essay that is well researched. Because people as well would probably not have even read about the scholarship and they just jump into the question. What are the kind of scholars are they looking for? Who are the previous scholars that have gone to the program? Who have you reached out to within the scholarship? Whose lecturer are you interested in their work? Like spend time actually like looking at the website to see lecturers and people who have already gone through the program and be able to lecturers who are like working in your field rather, and see how does that connect with my research and what I want to do professionally, and blend those things into your essays. When I was applying for scholarships in the past, like I would even write emails to lecturers. I would, even go follow them on LinkedIn or go follow them on like Twitter and read their thoughts. Sometimes I would come across their paper. I would read and understand where they are coming from, what's their position. And how can I blend all of those things into your essay? It means you're a different person from another person who didn't do research. Like the moment you're putting all of those personal touch, and the truth is that it seems like hard work, but it's the most simplest thing you can do. Like Google things and just like, and if you're not able to, if you can't research, then you're not ready for a master's program. If you can't just do a basic search of a lecturer and understand their work and understand what they do, then you're not ready for a master's program. So I tell people that don't be a lazy applicant. So because there are many people who are very, 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 very lazy, and they just want to respond. I'm like, you are not even in the competition in the first place. You see, most times when scholarships say that, oh, over 80,000 applied or over 70,000 applied, maybe it is only 500 that applied, or maybe 1,000, because those are the people who have submitted a quality application. So your competition is not the 80,000 that applied. You are just part of a number. If you write a rubbish essay, you're not even in the competition in the first place. No, it's the truth. We need to tell the truth. You need to say the truth here. You are just part of a number. You are not even in the competition to start with. And to be in the competition, you really, really have to ensure that you've put in the work. There's a rigor in your essay. And then even if you're rejected, you know that, yes, I've done something and I've written. Like I am proud of what I've produced. And it's because maybe there's some certain reason why I was rejected. Maybe there were more people who they feel that they align more than me. But it doesn't matter that like because you've already put in the work. So I think those are the things that makes really, really, good and solid essays.
Good. So yeah, of course. I mean, paraphrasing the words of Ahmed, he says, if you write a rubbish essay, you are not in the competition. You're not part of the competition. So please, take time to invest time. Okay, take time to invest time into your scholarship essays. Very, very relevant, so that you can be part of the few select competitors or contenders for the scholarship. Amazing. So, Ahmed, can you tell us what positioned you strategically to bag the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at the University of Edinburgh?
I think I need to also put out that I was rejected first when I applied. So I got it the second time. And I think when I applied the second time, I think number one, my narrative has improved, my story has improved. And I think when you look at the question, so for example, the first question talks about like, tell us about your life journey, right?
Yeah.
And how you meet the selection criteria, as a transformative leader. You need to understand that question, what it's saying, right? It said, reflect on your life so far. It's not saying reflecting on one part of your life and leave the remaining. So what people sometimes do is that they talk about all their challenges that they faced, and then they forget to talk about what did that challenge lead to and what have they created. I feel like sometimes people write essays. I mean, when people send me applications to read, I'm like, don't write as if you're a victim. Write as if you're a winner. Um, because we all have gotten one story or the other, but don't let that story dominate your essay. It's part of you, but don't let that particular story actually dominate your essay. So you write the essay from a point of like, this is my story. Truly, I went through this. It's sad, but I took responsibility. And because I took responsibility, I was able to come up with this. I graduated top of my class, and I went ahead to start this project that has impacted this number of people. And now I'm a beacon of hope to my community. And I've won so award, which has given me more credibility in my community, for example. So, I feel like even when you look at that reflecting your life so far, I think part of the story, maybe 2, 3 lines, should just focus on your experience and personal journey, the hardship and everything, while others should focus on like, what are the things you did, right? How did that lead to catalyze something? For example, if you've gotten maybe, for example, I had a 4.47 CGPA in my undergrad, and it was not a first class, but it was close to a first class. And I was the best graduating student. So I was able to highlight, how despite my background, I was even able to compete with people who had everything and still graduated 4.47 in my class. And additionally, I went to start at a particular initiative to help children of my kind develop this particular, this, and fundraise this also money. And because of also this work, I was like the only African to join the Peace Force Fellowship in Residence, where I lead a regional work and I'm creating regional impact, right? So the story comes from like, oh, I was born and raised in a slum community or rural community, lost my mom when I was 7, and my dad became unemployed. I also stayed out of school for academic term, and the same for my brother. But this inspired me to start teaching when I was 15, for example, right? Where I spent 2 hours from teaching and, went into university, competed with privileged children, and graduated with 4.47. So again, you need to think about like, your narrative, right? So I think it's very important that people should not write an essay from a victim point of view, but rather from somebody who has transformed the challenges that they face. Obviously, the challenges is part of them. It's who they like, you can't take away that identity from you. But it's how you reflect on that identity and how that identity has positioned you to even be a better person and be a better candidate for scholarships such as that, because you will inspire even more millions of people. So I think that's one bit of the essays. And I think there's also an essay that talks about what setback have you faced, for example, and or what challenges have you faced and how did you overcome them. And for me, again, when I look at some of this essay question, the approach of answering that question is to use like a STAR approach or a STAR approach. So situation, task, action, result, and lessons. um how did you overcome them did not require you to say the lessons, but I feel like there's a need for me to say the lessons, like what did that teach me, what has that led to, right? The result and the lesson. So and I think in the context of that essay, there's a situation you need to start with. So for example, in my case, for example, I shared this story recently when I went to Saudi Arabia. And it was a story of how I got a job in Saudi Arabia in 2016 and 2017. And I was supposed to be paid $5,000 per year, or $6,500 per month, $6,000 per year. And I turned down the job to start my nonprofit. And considering my background and where I'm coming from, I should have jumped on that job. but I turned it down. And it wasn't rosy when I dropped that job because my family were expecting, me to like start giving them money, to start supporting them or something like that. But imagine turning out such role. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person. I've gotten a vision, right? And that encouraged me to like start taking courses, for example. I went to do like Yali Regional Leadership Center courses. I did so many other online courses. I went ahead to like, join a particular fellowship program where I created so and so. And that became an opportunity to actually highlight other things that I've not highlighted in the first story, right? Like I said, we're an embodiment of stories. If you reflect, you'll be able to think, what setback have you actually faced? Is there an exam that you fail, but you bounced back from that exam and then you had like a good result and that led you to work in a space, or that's changed your perspective from failure? And then you've been able to build so thing. And then, like it's being able to relate the stories together at every point in time. So what's the situation? What did you then do? What were the results? And I talked about like how I wouldn't have made regional impact. I talked about even how I created a blog, right? For example, to share my work and my story, and how if I had taken that job, maybe I would have created such regional impact or local national impact in my community, and also won the awards that I've won. So I'm talking about the lessons there, right? So again, it's like, how are you able to weave these stories together? So another question could be, how would the scholarship benefit you personally and professionally? Or how would your course program benefit you personally and professionally, for example? And then, you look at that question, what's your course do you want to do? Why do you want to do that course, for example? Are you going to start with the data, or are you going to start with a story? So you could look at the data, you could look at the personal story, you could look at observation. And I think this is where your own experiences of like data collection also comes in, because I'm like, if you're a graduate student, you've gone through a bachelor's degree, you should be able to like do simple citation, right? And say that this is where a problem is coming from, and this is the evidence where I found it. And this is what I've observed based on my interaction, or based on what I've seen, or based on even what you've read. So it's how you tell it that matters, basically. And then from there, you talk about like, the traction you've done or what you've built already, and how that has inspired you to want to take this particular course to continue to improve so and so. And this is what you hope to do. This is where you hope to work. This is your in the first 5 years, I hope to work here, or in the first 3 years, I hope to do this, or upon return, I hope to do this. And on the long-term goal, these are your goals. And you believe that connecting with X and X lecturers, for example, would help you in improving that goal, and you actually looking forward to collaborate with so lecturer. Like I remember in my essay, right, I talked about collaborating with like almost 3 lecturers that I've researched, and I actually worked with some of them, to be honest, at the end of the day. Because my essay is spiritual. Like I feel like when I write essays, I do them because I'm not just writing essays because I want to get an opportunity. I'm writing an essay because I feel like I have a vision and I want you to invest in this vision. And I will go ahead to implement every single thing that I've written there. Many that I've written in my essays, I've actually started implementing some of them already. So I think my essay is not an essay, just an essay. It's personal to me. It's personal for me. And whatever I'm writing there, I'm actually taking them seriously. So I think that's why I said, don't just write an essay. Don't just be an applicant. Don't just be part of the number. Write an essay that is spiritual.
Write an essay that is spiritual. So what I think Kayode wants to say over here is that go search deeper within you, right? And then weave them beautifully into your essays. And one very significant statement which Kayode made was the fact that don't write your essay from a victim point of view, but how you reflect on that identity and how that has made you a better person. And I think that is the point, because some people position their essays such that they think that that would kind of appeal to the emotions of the reviewers and assessors and all that. But that is not what is going to appeal to them, because look, they know that you are coming from a developing country. They know you're a disadvantaged person, and that is why you're applying for this very, very specific scholarship. So instead of capitalizing or making your victim story your main substance in your essay, turn it around and then write essays that kind of speaks to how you have, evolved, moved out of that victim situation, right? And the lessons you have learned out of that. And I think that is really going to position you in among the real contenders or competitors for the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at the University of Edinburgh. Thank you so much, Kayode. Still in the realm of demystifying what makes someone win the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program, I think you highlighted something that is succinct. The fact that you didn't secure a first class, right? You had a 2-1, right? A second class upper. However, you were able to communicate how, being a 2-1 was really significant, right? Even in your own class, in your university, and other things that you have done that complements the 2-1 that you had and position you to back that very scholarship. So yes, of course, if you're out there and you're looking to apply for the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at the University of Edinburgh and anywhere, I'm likely to have someone from Sionspo as well, but anywhere, you are fully eligible and a good contender for the scholarship, even with a second class upper. Great. So let us now move on to our next questions. So does the recommendation letter that you were provided with by your lecturers or whoever, did they really play any significant role in securing the scholarship?
Recommendation letters play a significant role in anything, in everything that you do, because it brings about the credibility of the work or what you've said. So what a recommendation letter is saying is that it's confirming the statement of the things you've said in your essays, basically. And sometimes if a recommendation letter actually contradicts what you've said, then it's a problem. So because they read through the recommendation letter, it's like this person, do they really have the capacity to actually succeed in this Mastercard Foundation program, for example, or in this scholarship, or are they credible enough, right? And I think every reference or recommendation letter I've gotten a prompt of what they want the person who is writing the reference to actually address. So I think, yeah, it definitely plays a role. In fact, like me, because of the good recommendations that I've gotten, or because of the good recommendation letters that I've gotten, whenever I write recommendation for people, I try as much as possible to ensure that it's a solid recommendation that I'm providing for them, so that I'm not going to shortchange them. Because so many people have been shortchanged because of the kind of recommendation that they get or they provide. I mean, even in my work, in my day-to-day job, what I do, I provide recommendation for young people, and I try as much as possible to ensure that the recommendation I'm writing are like, solid, so that the person can get the opportunity. So I think it plays a major role. I think it plays a greater role. I think it should not be given like, there should not be like a limited emphasis to it. And I think people who know you should be the one to write it, who can actually, like are willing to die for you. I remembered like one of my recommenders and for Chevening scholarship, because I got Chevening as well then. And I remember that, for my Chevening scholarship, he wrote 3 pages worth of recommendation letter. And when I had the opportunity of reading it, and I'm like, I didn't have the opportunity of reading the one that you submitted to Mastercard. I never read it. But when I read the one for Chevening, I was blown away by the level of things that he wrote, and by the way he kind of like praised me, and by the way he said like he is the person to actually succeed in whatever he has chosen to do here. So yeah, I think recommendation letters are very, very incredible, and they are very, very powerful components of our essays, or of our applications rather. So yeah, it's important that we actually get people who can talk about our work and speak for us, and validate things that we've said in our essays. Because for example, like I'm trying to recall, like, people feel like, oh, only lecturers can provide your reference. I think you can also get a professional reference. I got a professional reference. Most of the time, I use a blend of the two, or most of the time I use like professional reference because of my professional experience. So uh, again, I'm not saying lecturers don't provide the best recommendations, but I think you also need to look at the person who has more weight in terms of like what you're saying, and in terms of like an application, and who can write the best recommendation for you.
Amazing. I cannot emphasize less how recommendation letters are key players in securing or bagging scholarships, because I recall my supervisor here at the University of Exeter telling me, look, your referee wrote a power or a fire recommendation letter for you, right? So which means it played a huge role. I also remember that we had a committee. I was working with my supervisor and others. And she highlighted to the team that, look, Patrick was recommended by this person, and the content of the recommendation letter was fire. And she asked me to share the recommendation letter with the people so they know the caliber of person that I am. Right? So recommendation letters play a huge role, whether in bagging a professional opportunity or an academic opportunity or whatever it is. It plays a huge role. So please choose people who can really speak to your abilities, people who can give context-specific examples. I've said this over and over and over again on this same channel. So yeah, it's very, very important. Kayode, thank you very much. So are there interviews conducted for this very scholarship? How is it like? What goes into the interview? At what point are you invited for an interview? Yeah, if you can share some light on that for us. Thank you.
I think once an application review is being conducted, people are being invited to an interview. And I think the interview as well is they just want to get to know you, because if you've gotten to the interview, you have like a higher chance to get into the scholarship. But again, it's an opportunity to like, confirm things you've written, or for them to get to like know, who you are, why you do what you do, and the connection in your work. Yeah, there's an interview component, and I think about 30 minutes interview. I think sometimes there's even in my set, I didn't get any question ahead of time, but I think the last set got questions ahead of time to prepare. So, that's even a plus, but that doesn't mean you should go cram answers and go cram responses, and then you're going into the interview with a cram response. Obviously, you can have pointers. Obviously, you can have pointers of things you want to say, but an interview should come natural, to you. Like, you should have practiced, obviously, but then your practice should not. It's not about cramming. It's like how you add yourself and your uniqueness, how you bring yourself to the interview, and how you're able to like answer the question. I remember during my interview, right? I was at the front of my house, and we had chickens and everything, and those chickens were like, they were hearing the sound of the chickens in my house, and I was like, yeah, those are the chickens in my house. The sound, that was how I started my interview, right? And I'm like, yeah, those are the sound of chickens in my house. I live in this community. It's a very outreach community, a rural community. It's COVID-19 year, and I was talking about it was like, how are you today? I'm like, and I was saying like, I actually miss some of my young people that I work with. That since COVID started, I've not been able to do any in-person program, and I'm not able to see them. So I actually miss that. So, but I think I'm finding other ways to give back. For example, I've been giving back online. Like, I've never started my interview, right? I've started like, bringing in like my own naturalness into the whole conversation. And, and then we started the whole, interview. And obviously it shows also preparation. I made additional preparation during the interview. I read about a few more lecturers. I read about, for example, how many research does my Center of African Studies churns out. I read about why I want University of Edinburgh and why I want to do my course. Like I was able to communicate that this is the reason why I want to do this course. I really want to do this course because of three reasons. One, because, access to like personal and professional development. Secondly, access to like a strong alumni network. Like, and then you're explaining them, like you should be able to like be like, I'm in control. I'm in this interview and I know what I'm saying. This is my work. I also could recall that one of the questions that I got then was, why do you need it why do you need this financial support to like cover for your scholarship and all? And I'm like, well, I won't lie to you. I actually like I could cover my basic needs when it comes to water, food, and housing. But when it comes to like paying a £50,000 worth of scholarship to actually, I don't think I have that capacity. But I think one thing would happen if I get a scholarship. I think it would give me an opportunity to inspire my community. I think my community knowing that I've gotten this program or I've gotten this opportunity is going to give them a credibility to be like, if Ahmed has done, I can do the same and I can get the scholarship and I can. So I think for me, it's more than a scholarship. It's also inspiring communities. And again, these are like things that you bring into like your conversation or your interviews that shows that you're real and that shows that you're unique. That shows that you're somebody who exude confidence and newness and you would, survive in a scholars program that is tensed and is rigorous.
Yeah, amazing. I don't even see myself not awarding you that scholarship if I'm on that panel. I mean, even here, I have goosebumps all over. That was a very powerful way to approach your entire interview. One, it exudes it's clear that you exuded a lot of confidence and you were very much in control of the interview. And it was obvious that they gave you that scholarship. I mean, yeah. Thank you so much. So I would like you to give, before we move on to looking at how studies in Edinburgh is like, I would want to know from you if the scholarship application comes with admissions or you have to do the two of them concurrently or one before the other. How is it like?
So you have to apply to the scholarship first. I think that's how it happened in my set. So I applied to the scholarship first. And as I got the scholarship, then they support you to get an admission. Obviously, I mean, they ask for your transcript and all of those things, knowing that if you have all those ready, it's easier for you to like, get an admission. And sometimes they advise that you can pick from your essay's response to actually write your personal statement. Sometimes it's like, it seems like a walk in the park once you go through the process, but the scholars team, they've interviewed you, they've gone through, they know that you're capable. But they're always supportive along that journey. So you apply to scholarship first. And I think I got my admission within a day. Like I'm just sometimes I'm I think I have this, I don't know what they call them. This fast blood, you want to quickly do things. So when I got my admission, like that night, I just finished my personal statement immediately on the same day. Boom, boom. I'm like, gone. This is done. I'm like, I think like it was done. And the next day I got an admission. I'm like, this is my number. I'm like, done. I'm out of this. So I think that's just me. If you're somebody who wants to like relax and think and you can. There are situations where I process things, but I mean things that I know that I don't need to actually really process. I quickly get them done. But you would get support all through the journey from the scholarship program. Once you get the scholarship, it's an automatic that you've got an admission, but obviously I can't say that because I don't know what could happen. But I've not seen any case where somebody has gotten a scholarship and didn't end up getting an admission.
That's so true. It's unlikely that you secure an interview for Edinburgh, Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at Edinburgh, and not get admitted. It's literally like it's very, very impossible. I mean, so once you're able to go through that phase, be rest assured that admissions is going to come very easy, because yeah, of course, otherwise you wouldn't have gone through to the interview stage. And I want to also send a huge caveat out there. This this approach is actually the University of Edinburgh Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program approach. It's different for Sciences Po, and it might be different for that of Oxford and then the other university, right? Very good. So what three sound advice would you give to prospective applicants of the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at the University of Edinburgh?
Yeah, I also want to put out a caveat that these are also my personal thoughts and experiences. So I think it's not like in any thoughts of the scholars program. So just in case, so I just want people to know that as well. So these are just my views, take them as views, not facts. Yeah, and they are based on my personal experience. So three advice. I think one of the things I struggle with as well is like to give people advice. I think I really struggle with that, but I'll give people advice. I mean, I would say it's on this call. I think the first thing is I think the rigor, put in the work. If you put in the work, it shows in your essays, and it shows in the way you prepare for the interview. So I would say that put in the work. Let it come with a rigor. There's a quote around. I think Stephen Boyles talk about sweating the small stuff. Making sure that you've crossed the D's. Obviously, not being totally perfect, because I think for me, I won't sweat the small stuff to the extent that I would then, be able to do anything, right? But it's more of like, I used to call myself, I'm a perfect imperfectionist. So I try all my possible best to where I can. And I'm like, yeah, I've tried my best and I'm open to learn. Let me submit and see what happens. So I would say that the rigor in your application, make sure you're answering the question, make sure you're not giving a smaller 1-line, 2-line response. How do you want to get a scholarship with a 1-line response? How do you want to communicate your thought with a 1-line response, right? Imagine you're writing a 3,000 words essay and you're submitting 500 words. Do you think the lecturer will pass you? No. So it's very important that you put in the rigor in the process of the application. I think, secondly, it's again, what you give is what you get, right? It's what you give into something that you get out of it. So if you put in the work, you get also the reward. Even if you're rejected, you still end up with a very good essay that you can use for another application. Maybe Mastercard is not what you're supposed to get, or it's not for you. There are many other scholarships that you can get. The second thing is, build a support system. I think we don't talk about this enough. I remember we had a group where, we support each other, we cheer each other on, I think people don't talk enough about the support system. I think build a support system, because when the difficulties start coming, like when push comes to shove, right? Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking for. When you're being rejected left and right, you need a support system. You need people who you can call and talk to. Some of my friends were there, where people I processed those things with then back in the days. And you also need the time to also reflect, on the journey, like, what have I done wrong? What can I do better? How can I actually improve? You go back to your essay. Don't say, oh, this essay is bad, I'm not going to look at it again. You go back to the essay, review the essay, look at it, criticize your own essay yourself, and look for how it can be improved and how it can be better, and draw a action plan of how you want to go on with the next step. Maybe, oh, I need to speak to an alumni first. I need to read about this. I need to watch some videos such as this one. So look out for resources, read about those resources. I think that's very important. That would be my second advice. And my third advice is, be and become. I think one of the things that, for you to be able to like even apply in the first place, you've done a great job. So that's, if you get rejected, that should not stop you from becoming who you are. Because it would by becoming and being, you will get into other rooms and might not be the scholarship. So continue to be and continue to become and continue to do things, because it's only when you do that you actually have stories to tell. Thank you.
Beautiful. Now, my final question for you, we have less than 5 minutes to be out of here. So my final question for you, how is it like to study at the University of Edinburgh and Scotland?
Again, I think I'm not the best person to answer the question because I studied during COVID-19 year. So I didn't get to like attend. I attend some in-person classes though, but I didn't get to like attend it. I didn't get a full experience of a students. But I think I really met really good people in my class and in my cohort who have become important travel bodies as well. So I think whatever school you're studying in, I think it's just important to like, reach out to people first, I think that's what people don't do enough. Somebody wants you to connect with them. So I'll be like, hey, hello, I actually enjoy what you shared in class. Can we go for a walk and discuss more about it? Right. And you would notice that people actually also want the same, but just that they don't have the courage to ask you first. So have the courage to ask first. I think that's something that I learned in the program. Yeah, and right, it's going to be rigorous, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be hard, especially with turning in essays. But don't be scared to ask for help. Don't be scared to like, talk to the team. Mastercard team, they're always there to support. Don't be scared to talk to your lecturers and book in an office hour they want you to pass. Don't think that you're alone. There are people who would be there to support you. And I think Scotland is such a beautiful place to be. The architecture is so lovely. Every day it becomes new when you go out. So it's aside from the cold, it's like, it's just so beautiful. Like for me, it became my second home, and it's a place that I would always miss. I think, yeah, enjoy the city, visit places, go out with friends, try the restaurant, try the food, like, have the full experiences, and don't be scared to take in opportunities within the school systems also build an experience, because transition starts from when you start in the program, and it continues to go once it, yeah. So yeah, great. Yeah, I think, I don't know if I touched anything, but
yeah, you did actually. Thank you so much. And that's a beautiful note to end our session today. And one thing that Kayode said that's also very phenomenal, but I'm taking it out of context, is the fact that don't think you are alone. So yeah, don't think you're alone. We are cheering you on to win the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at the University of Edinburgh. And we believe that you one day come onto our channel to also share how you backed this wonderful scholarship. Mr. Ahmed Kayode Alabi, we are so grateful to you for the depth of insight you have provided on this very channel. We are really grateful. We thank you so much for that. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, and even share with your friends when you come across this very video on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much, and bye.